edition just wrapped up yesterday here in Las Vegas. I'm still here. Ding is in New York, holding down the fort as always. And as you know, Slap News is bringing you unprecedented coverage of the world of slap fighting. Whether you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or on YouTube, we appreciate you. We appreciate everybody who tunes in to watch this show live, or if you're watching the playback. We appreciate your love, your support. We know that you guys are following. We know that you guys are listening, that you have an appetite for everything slap fighting. Let me tell you, break it down. The camp yesterday, 43 athletes, 8 women, 4 Canadians, an Aussie, as well as someone from New Zealand, a diverse background of athletes that they brought in. It was wrestler heavy, but we did have some guys that had slap fighting experience from SFC joining the camp. It's not the first time that we've seen some of these athletes. They've brought back athletes for another look that have previously competed in either first or second combine that they held earlier in the spring of this particular year. And let me tell you, there's a couple athletes that I am really excited for, and I'm going to tell you about that later in the show. There is a diverse, like I said, range and background of athletes that took place in the combine itself, and it's evident to see there's definitely a new way of doing business. I mean, as much as all of us loved Erica and everything that she's done, let me tell you, Frank, Justin, and Sid, there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new way of doing business, and it's a fuck around and find out type of mentality. And you're not going to want to fuck around because you're definitely not going to want to find out what's going to happen to you. And I think this rendition, this chapter that has kind of changed, is incredibly exciting for everybody, not only the athletes in the sport, but also for the fans and the quality of the product and where the sport is going to go. Incredibly excited to see all of that take place. Ding. How's your week been?
Well, it's been madness, man. You guys are you're over there creating oodles and noodles of content, and it's a lot to try to keep up with remotely here, but we get it done, and yeah, I'm interested to hear. So I'll say full disclosure for the people watching. I know nothing about the camp. I know just as much as you. That was by design. I'm gonna almost interview Corey here, and he's gonna tell us all about his experience. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I know a few of the athletes that were there. I've seen some photos. Obviously, I've seen a little bit of the slap footage, but I know nothing more than that. I don't know anything about any conversations that were had, any of the briefings that the athletes were given, what was said, what wasn't said, any specific, examples or highlights or revelations that we're gonna find out. All of that stuff we're gonna get to find out here tonight together. And then, of course, I actually slipped my mind last week. Because it was just a busy show. We reached out to you guys via our story and we asked you guys to submit some questions that you might have or subjects that you want us to talk about. We didn't get a chance to do that last week, but we think tonight will be a perfect time for us to sort of catch up and make sure that we deliver that to you. Really appreciate all you guys who are submitting your questions and your subjects. And excited to get into that. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think I get to play a little bit of reverse roles here because I don't think Corey knows what any of those subjects are.
I absolutely don't, Ding. And so let's grow with it, man. I mean, if anyone could do it, it's us two knuckleheads. I think we're pretty witty on our feet, and for the amount of effort and time we put into this, I think we'll be able to make some great content. And appreciate everybody who joins in, like we said, in comments. And if you want to rate the live chat, even I mean, challenge us on the spot. We know Ding's definitely not afraid to bring that stuff up. So let us know. We're a sucker for punishment, and we're gonna keep on rolling every single week, my man.
Hey, so Fap saying we're gonna put him to sleep. That's crazy.
We're gonna put Fab to sleep.
Yeah, he says he's gonna go to sleep with the stream because it's so late on the East Coast, and I
Okay.
believe
Yeah, I
Fab is an East Coast
apologize.
guy.
I apologize, my man. Just unfortunate, circumstances, trying to balance a lot of things and different aspects. Hopefully, you're not following my personal IG that you know what's going on. But yeah, just trying to balance all aspects of my life to be able to make this happen. But you know what? Give us credit. We're still here. We're still doing it, whether we're in Las Vegas, at home, or in the comfort of our workspace. So trying to bring you guys, like I said, unprecedented coverage. But let's get to the camp thing. I know this is what's on everybody's mind. And as I alluded to off the bat, there is a new sediment across the board in terms of Power Slap. And it is very much one of a professional organization, one that's no longer going to tolerate anything from the fighters other than this is a job. You're applying for a job by coming to this training camp. We want to see you show up, show out. From the second that you step on premise at the UFC Apex. It was a 1 day camp this time, definitely condensed. They're watching you, they're watching what's going on, how you're interacting. Do you want to be there? They want to work with people that are easy to work with and people that want to be winners. The one thing that I think we loved early on with Power Slap that I think is kind of making it sour now is that this has been a very small knit community, lovey dovey. Everybody's been friends. But let me tell you this, I think now the changing of the guard is happening. These new fighters are coming into it. And I think you're going to start to see even more the segregation of it. This is a job. These other athletes that are at that camp want what you want. They're trying to take food off your table, they're trying to take your space. It was still a little bit too camaraderie for me, but we are starting to see more of that divide. We're starting to see people take more of a individual type atmosphere that, hey, you're holding the pads for me. I need to show up. I need to show out. I'm going to tell you how to hold the pads. Seeing athletes that have come in that have actually practiced and prepped. And then, of course, on the other end, we see athletes that haven't as well. I would say right off the top, out of 43 athletes, there's probably around 10 to 12 athletes, automatic signs. Sign them, get them, in on the tape card of an upcoming Power Slap event. I would say there's probably in the middle 15 athletes or so that I want to see more of. I mean, you can give them an opportunity, but I'd love to see them go back, refine their craft, work on their skill set. And then I think the bottom half of this, there's a good 15, athletes or so that we'll probably never see again. Athletes that I think the moment was just too big. Athletes that never practiced slapping coming in kind of came with, never been to Vegas. I don't know if the lights got too big for them. They didn't take it as serious. They were here. Even when they were training, they were kind of on the side, goofing around, do a couple of slaps, So you really seen three separate groups of athletes. And we'll get into it. We'll talk about some of the highlights, some athletes that I think we need to see more of as well. But I think overall, we've seen three separate segments. And I think we do have one star that is potentially going to be the next homegrown star of Power Slap coming out of this particular camp. So,
Interesting stuff. I'm
yeah.
curious. Was there anything? Was there anything that was said or illustrated or examples that were used that stood out to you? Whether that like something that maybe was emphasized. You were like, oh, that's interesting that they're emphasizing that. Whether that was
Yeah.
a portion of the rules, maybe a way that you strike, a way that you line up, a way that that you defend your defensive
Mhm.
posture. Is there anything that you were like, I'm surprised that they mentioned that. I've never heard that before, and that it kind of made your ears perk up and caught your attention.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, they've always been known that they want to be the best organization in the world, the highest level of slap fighting around. But the emphasis of this is a job. We want to work with people that want to be here and professionalism. I think overall professionalism is the word that kind of surround the entire day. We've had Sim Bodie talking about social media and a little bit of PR on how to handle themselves. And the line that he said, he said it on our show as well, don't shit where you eat, and spoke about athletes, specifically speaking out about the organization or speaking about refereeing after the fact on social media is bad business. And so I think overall the sentiment of business first is one of the big things that came out of this. But then secondly, I mean, Mark Smith, incredible guy, spoke for an hour and 15 minutes to go over the rules, as it relates, to the strikers. I think a guy that's truly a pioneer, and I think you will never get the credit for the growth of Power Slap and the evolution of where the rule set goes. Really down to earth, a guy that says, hey, even back to Power Slap one, I've made mistakes looking back. We're human as well. The rule set is continually evolving. We're really early on in this thing, and we're going to see the rules evolve as it relates, to the sport itself. And
You
Mark,
know,
let me tell you, Mark knows everything. Mark studies more than anything else. He knows the tendencies of fighters. He knows guys that bitch and moan, the guys that, will either, tuck their shoulders, roll their shoulders forward, tilt back, chin down, a ton of stuff. And he was relentless to call fighters out with actual footage of what they were doing in particular matches.
that's interesting. So I do want to touch on something you said a little bit earlier, and this has been a controversial subject. As athletes, and freedom of speech and Dana White is always intertwined and interconnected over the course of time, right? Dana's
Yeah.
big on free speech. Some people have said, some of his fighters have crossed the line in the past, and there's opinions on that on both sides. What I will say to that end is that yes, free speech exists. Yes, they endorse your right and they support your right to free speech. But just like Sin said, and I think that this doesn't get enough credit, I think this might be one of those moments where we clip this thing and say, While you have the right to say what you want on social media on your own platforms, the promotion has the right, and the individuals that are representative of the promotion, whether that's Frank, Sin, Justin, etc., have the right to feel the type of way that they want to feel about what it is that you said. Because a lot of those
Mhm.
feel like personal attacks. And if you have a problem with the rankings and you don't know, Frank Lamasella controls the rankings. I'm not saying he does. I don't know. I don't know who those individuals are behind the scenes. I would imagine it's a combination of all the guys that we kind of have identified are part of the the brass or the head shed. But if you criticize the rankings outwardly and say it's favoritism, and Frank Lamasella is the person who does the rankings, I mean, 2 plus 2 equals 4. You are criticizing Frank Lamasella whether you intend to do that or not. And would any of us,
Mhm.
those of us who have jobs or traditional jobs where you work for somebody as an employee, contracting is a little different, so I won't talk about that group of people. But if you work for an employer, you wouldn't criticize your boss like that to their face or on your social media about them unless you want to lose your job. So as frustrating as it might feel like you're being muzzled, you can't say what you want to say, etc. It's all about respect at the end of the day. They're doing their best. They have a vision. You're part of that vision as an athlete. It is what it is. Agree, disagree, whatever that looks like. And in some ways it's insubordinate, and that is not. It sounds like from what you're telling me, I wasn't there, but it sounds like
Mhm.
that is being emphasized, and it's something that's not going to continue and be perpetuated going forward. As far as the disrespect and stuff like that on social media. And I just used the rankings and Frank Lemoncello as an example. Again, I don't know that he is in charge of the rankings or not. I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you to illustrate for the purpose. Criticize people who are in charge of you or in charge of the promotion, who have a vision and a direction, and they see this thing bigger picture. Probably not the greatest way to get yourself a phone call to get yourself on a card. That's all I'll say on that subject. Secondarily, when you talk about Mark Smith, it's interesting, and I think we get tidbits of that, and we kind of feel like Mark is the guy. But I do think to some degree, those who have not had the benefit of attending the camp as either a prospect slash athlete who's refining their technique or a coach, I don't know that they understand the gravity to which Mark Smith is a tactician and a student of this sport and this game and his role that he plays, because I don't see him getting any more respect. In fact, I probably see him getting more disrespect than many of the other referees, because he is kind of that centerpiece and sort of front representation. But like you said, I mean, you've seen it now in person. Like the guy is the guy. He's the one who's cultivating that next athlete and sort of ushering in that new wave of talent and teaching them kind of what this all is. And so I think ultimately, he deserves a lot more respect, and I agree. I think once he's gone, however many years in the future, because it seems like he's Benjamin Button and only gets younger every time you see him.
Mhm.
When that day comes that he does decide to walk away, whether that's 15, 25, whatever years that looks like, I think that's when people will be like, man, we really appreciate what Mark Smith did for the sport.
For sure. I mean, you know what? I'm gonna say something. I don't mean, bag about it because I don't want to talk specifics about who I spoke to and what about, but I will say two things. Mark Smith and Jason Herzog care about Power Slap more than you could ever imagine. And they care about getting this right. They care about the authenticity and protecting the sport and the rule set and the longevity. And both of these guys, when they are criticized or when they are challenged, they have subsequential proof to back up the decisions that are being made. These guys have it down to a T. The rule set and having instant replay. Every single slap is reviewed and is reviewed by the other officials and the actual commission itself. Whether the referee signals for it or not for review, it gets reviewed because the corner can say, "Hey, Mark," or whoever is the head judge, stop the play. The last slap is under review. And so they have, as we showed you on our IG page. I'm sure it's down a little bit now, but you'll see they have real time and they have slow mo breaking down frame by frame in regards to, the actual slap and or the foul that they're looking at. That could be potentially, challenged or under review of whether it was a good slap or not. And so, like I said, I actually haven't seen that level of commitment and the reinforcement of that. And like I said, the knowledge base. I mean, you ask Mark Smith, he can pretty well call you back to the slap. Round one, dumpling versus the crazy wine's chin placement. I put him in place. He dropped his chin because of the beard was out. He had his eyes up. What wasn't, dumpling hit the shoulder. He knows this off the top of his head. Like he knows, and whether the matches that he did or the matches that he's on the sidelines for. very well knowledged and versed on the actual rule set and the evolution of it. But I know you kind of asked me, and I probably skirted around a little bit. But one rule that I thought was incredibly interesting that I don't know if it was in the rules the entire time, but there was an emphasis to bring it up. But it was the actual target area itself. And so we're seeing, especially with the bigger guys, some of the Samoans, super heavyweights, the guys have the massive hands on them. So the target zone is so the target zone is actually identified as the center point of your cheek along the jawline. They want 3 points of contact hitting when the slap is being delivered. So you can't have your hand curved. It's got to be flat in a natural position. So what they talked about is a natural position. They want you to keep your hands, like this, or closer, or sorry, closer together, and your thumb in a natural position. They're trying to get guys away from slapping at 90 degrees. That's where you're going to get the eye injury. However, and this is where
Or
it gets in.
obviously you can't do this, right?
Correct,
Right.
correct. You can't be wider. And so if the strike hits in the target zone and the thumb makes contact with the eye, it is not a foul or higher. So as long as the center of the palm hits the center of the cheek, where that thumb lies here, as you can see on me, would not consist as an actual foul itself. So I thought that was interesting. And then secondly to that, the under the chin is a no-no. So we've seen some athletes try to target that before, especially shorter to taller athletes. You can't come under and hit underneath the target area in an upwards trajectory. So you could probably correct me. I know you're more of a rule buff than I am, Ding, but that's one thing that they're trying to get away from and take out is the underneath the chin hitting under and across. I know we've seen it. Do you know if it's in the rules, Ding, or not?
It doesn't say precisely. It just tells you what the target area is, and anything
Mhm,
outside of that. But it doesn't specifically delineate that you can't do this or can't do that. It just tells you what you can do, and it'll
mhm,
tell you strikes outside of that zone are not permitted. I do think the point that you make about the target area and what that it's almost as if you look at grid, points on a plot, right? So you have a plot on a grid, excuse me, a plot on a grid. So when you have the point on the grid,
mhm.
obviously it represents a certain surface area, and then around that you have the rest of the grid. So it's almost like fruits of the poisonous tree for those of you who are law buffs, right? Anything that's related to the ancillary to the rest of the hand is
Yeah,
fruit of the poisonous tree. The poisonous tree being your center of
yeah.
your palm, or the the target, so to speak. As long as this connects with the target area on the face,
Mhm.
everything else it's part of that damage. It's part of that strike,
Yeah.
which I thought was really interesting.
So is it primary contact and subordinate contact? So they say that the outside
Perfect. I
of
love
it.
that. I
So
love that. I love that vernacular. That's good.
yeah, no, 100%. And then the cupping of the hand was also one that was interesting. And they actually brought up the crazy Hawaiian versus dumpling because the crazy Hawaiian is
Yeah, he
somebody who
he
who
he
does
he cups the
this,
hand. He cups the hand.
cups the
Yeah.
hand. He also cocks the wrist and the elbow in terms of placement. So obviously, the crazy Lane Buddy, if you're watching, Mark Smith is on to you. So I'd suggest you're practicing the technique
Well, he said.
to make
Well,
your
he said.
return.
He
Yeah.
said. What 2 weeks ago he said on this show. He had a new defensive posture, and he also has
Yeah.
a new strike. So I think he's prepared for that.
So 100%. So, yeah. And then also there was clarification on the actual box itself and some of the bigger guys. You have to have, so your foot has to, it has to be within a portion of your foot has to be within the box. So, because there was questions, your whole feet have to be, all that they said was a portion of your feet have to be in the box when you are delivering a strike.
I believe that was Power Slap 17, if I'm not mistaken. So somebody made an error then. I think it was Kerry
Mhm.
Hadley, because if it was not, I apologize, my guy. You're the man. But
He,
somebody did make an athlete, a larger athlete, might I add, put
mhm.
both of their feet fully in the box. And I was like, pretty sure that's not how it works, unless, again, something changed. And I do want to remind people, I am fully convinced, and I don't have proof of this. Maybe Corey touched on this or heard it. I don't believe the rules that are on the website are the most up to date rules. I'm just putting that out there. I don't mean to be critical or anything. There's no conspiracy theory. I'm not saying they're hiding the rules. I just don't think that the rules that are on the website are the rules that are currently being articulated. There's a lot of language that's not in there that that is being enforced. And I just have a hard time believing, with how diligent they've been, that they don't have that within the rules somewhere. Particularly, we've heard of modifications that they've made over the past 2 years. That rule
Mhm.
set has not changed in the better part of that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think in terms of fighter safety and where the sport is going, it's definitely better. Than it was a year ago. It's definitely better than it was 2 years ago. So I think there's a lot to, kind of break down and digest of that entire thing. So
Now, I did hear something interesting that I think will I think will be particularly interesting to athletes, but also interesting to some of the fans, particularly related to the drug testing process. I don't know if you were there for that part, if you remember what they said, but it given recent events with drugs and positive,
mhm,
we had this issue in the past. In the very beginning, there was a slew of athletes that had gotten positive for different substances, some
mhm,
recreational, some performance enhancing. And then recently, again, we had the Chief and Darren Godfrey both kind of, being positive and being suspended.
mhm.
What, what if anything, do you remember or was significant for you about the drug testing process, if anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna skirt around this one, to be honest, because that was one area of the talks that we weren't allowed to record. So I'm gonna be respectful to the sensitivity of that nature. I'm not 100% sure what I should and shouldn't say, but I'll speak to just kind of basic common knowledge. Um, you know, they use the exact same labs that the UFC uses when doing drug testing. And so they made a comparison of an Olympic sized swimming pool has X amount of liters of water into it. If you put 1 gram of salt of a banned substance into that Olympic pool, I mean, Olympic sized pool, they can come back 24 hours later and they can easily identify what that substance was of that 1 grain of salt or banned substance. And they claimed very easily. So, that stood out, off the top of my mind. Um, and they said, unfortunately, in the United States, the way that the FDA works, you and I, Ding, can start a supplement, Slapsticks pre-workout. We can put dirt from the ground outside of it into the bottle. We can put it onto the shelves and we could start selling that product from day one on GNC, Vitamin Shop, online websites, wherever we want to go, your local Kroger, Save On, etc. Until there's complaints of people getting sick from the product that we created, that's when the FDA steps in. And so this is very common practice here in the United States that these supplements can go to market without any form of testing, the way the legislation is written here in the United States. So that's one thing. Secondly, a lot of these raw ingredients that are being put into supplements are from factories in India, Pakistan, and China. And so you can just Google Chinese factory quality standards and you will see what particularly happens over there. And they've seen cases of this happen where in factory A is running vitamin C on one line, they're running, a banned substance on a secondary line. As you're running that line, think of it as, conveyor belts, mixers, you have dust particles floating up. Particles, from banned substance A goes in the air, falls and lands on production line number two, where vitamin C is being produced. Now, those particles, we're talking the size of a grain of salt, can be detected. It's landing on vitamin C. It's getting put into, capsules. Now you have trace um, banned substance A in your vitamin C that you are taking. So they talked about, where a lot of these athletes have failed these particular drug tests, and it's not always malicious. It's not that they're trying to take a prohibited substance, but there are things on the shelf in the United States that can make you fail a drug test when you're competing at that level of drug testing standards. And so they spoke about 7 different, certifications that you need to be aware of and must be on that label for you to take those particular products. And one thing that I thought was incredibly interesting was they had a BCAA product, which is a branched chain amino acid product. I believe it was Extend, very commonly found in America. Two products. So you had Extend that had no certification, and you had an extend that had an informed choice label on it. The exact same product, um, with the exact same label. One was purchased from Costco, one was purchased from a local health food store. Same product, same manufacturer. One had the certification, one didn't. So think about how confusing that can be for athletes. So you must ensure that one of those seven labels that you're taking the product on, whether it's NSF, Informed Choice, BSCG, True Shield certified is another one. And athletes have access to the drug testing people with the UFC Power Slap 24/7. There's five of them. They were given all of their numbers, and so they could reach out to, at any time, 24/7 can reach out to one of these five people, and somebody will get back to them with answers of whether they should take it or not. So it's quite an in-depth, process and conversation around it. And I think the confidence that the fans should have in it definitely set things straight. So I see you laughing, so I'm sure there's
Sorry, I
something in the
gotta like, I
comments.
gotta, I gotta like, I gotta lighten this up a little bit. I mean, somebody's
Yeah.
calling Donna, like, "Hey Donna, I got this key of cocaine in front of me. Should I take it?" But I
Hey,
imagine, just
people.
like anything, Pono wants to know: Can you take Viagra or Blue Chew? Do you know anything about that?
Well, Pono, here's what I would say. I would say reach out to one of those five numbers that you were given, and you ask that specific answer. They'll be able to tell you specifically whether that's on the banned substance list and whether they test for it or not. I'm assuming you can't, but definitely go and message Jeff or Donna or whoever number you have, and they'll get back to you before you take it. So I thought that was interesting. They did say, so if you are actually some medications, heart medications, etc., have diuretics in them. Some of them have things like pseudoephedrine that people take for breathing problems and allergies and stuff like that. If you are prescribed it from a doctor, you can bring it forth, to the commission in advance, and they will, partition on your behalf to get you cleared before you get into fights. So, that's also something to look into. So maybe if you have ED, Pono, since you brought up Pono, Pono's got ED. He needs Viagra and or Cialis.
Oh
So
shit!
if that's what you have, Pono, you need to bring it forth to the organization, get it cleared by the commission, so you have no problems when the drug testing comes along.
That's the Hawaiian shit, man. I am curious.
It's all good fun, man. I'm just joking.
Obviously, you're hanging out in the UFC Apex, among
Yeah.
some of the powers that be. Did you get any inklings or hear accidentally when the next event might be or anything like that?
Um, I'll plead the fifth on that one. I'll plead the fifth. Nothing concrete right now. Obviously, they're trying to work incredibly hard to make this happen. Thought it was interesting to see that, we've seen obviously Power Slap piggybacked with the UFC. We've seen, Power Slap go on its own to Saudi Arabia. A lot more talk about, you know, the expansion of it, potentially having the WWE pair up with Power Slap and do kind of a city takeover. We know we've
It's
seen that type
a
of thing
no
before.
brainer. Forget a city takeover. WrestleMania weekend. I don't know. Did I say this to Sin? I feel like I've said this to Sin. I don't know if I said it
Yeah.
to him on camera, but I need to.
Mhm.
WrestleMania weekend, if there is no power slap, we have a problem. I don't care if it's on fucking Monday before WrestleMania week starts. There needs to be, there's so many people in Las Vegas during WrestleMania weekend, more than anything besides the Super Bowl. And it's the second year in a
100%.
row it's happening in Las Vegas. So people who have FOMO from last year are going to converge on Las Vegas this year for WrestleMania in April. Please God, if there's a God in the on planet Earth and his name is Sin Bodhi, please put Power Slap together for WrestleMania week. That's my only request.
And that's in April, April
It,
18th.
okay,
And
so it's mid-April. So yeah, I don't care if you do it on fucking Fremont Street. Like you don't even need whatever. Like if there's
a
issues with
venue.
a venue because Fountain Blue does a lot of stuff with WWE and activations, and every venue's
Mhm.
probably already booked. To be quite honest with you, do it at the Apex. Who fucking cares? Just put it somewhere where people can go watch it. It's extremely important, especially with the wrestling talent that they've brought in,
Hmm.
it just makes too much sense. So please put Power Slap during WrestleMania week. But I do like that Power Slap with and the WWE kind of pairing up. I think a WWE co-sign. I'd be interested to see what that fan base, how they react and kind of what their thoughts are and how they embrace Power Slap, being that they are in their own kind of lane of sports entertainment. And there's a lot of athletes that are for former WWE stars. Um,
Hmm.
So you never know what that could look like, man. I'm
Yeah,
interested.
especially
That's an interesting campaign or marketing play there.
100%, especially with the amount of wrestlers that you said they're bringing in with Sin Bodhi, and you build a roster, you build a card around that. I think you definitely get some eyeballs on it for sure.
What do you think of the coaches? Did I mean, one day it's quite accelerated. Like, do you feel like, in your honest opinion, you've been there for the 2 day camps, not for both days, but you've seen kind of
Hmm.
how that first day is heavily one way versus the other. I think the way that the
Yeah.
classes have been distributed previously is a little bit over a larger span of time. Do you feel like the amount of time that they had to sort of practice was valuable, or do you feel like the classroom portion or resident courses was kind of more important and they can train the
Yeah.
slapping techniques on their own?
Yeah, I can be honest, man. Like the classroom portions went long, so the actual training in gym was short. The morning session was maybe 30 minutes long. The afternoon session was the better part of maybe an hour and 5 minutes per se. I think from the organization standpoint, they got to see what they need to see. To be quite honest with you, from the athlete standpoint, I think having more time would have been better. But for all intents and purposes, getting it in there, I think they had a good keen eye. We're watching everybody throughout the camp, and the athletes that showed up prepared definitely stood out above everybody else. I'd say probably half the athletes showed up and weren't prepared. We're kind of like deers in headlights, guys that never practiced a slap technique and we're learning on the job. And so to be able to do that in the better part of 2 hours of training is incredibly difficult. But so from an athlete standpoint, I think longer the better. But it definitely starts them up, and we're really going to see who takes this serious, who goes back home, who trains for this sport, who actually soaks it up like a sponge, gets on YouTube and studies, the sport of slap fighting, is ultimately going to be able to, get that contract and be booked, for a future event.
I am interested. If I'm not mistaken, it was four athletes that were second timers: Cannon Reed, Philip Medina, Zenith Zion, and
Hayden
Hayden
Johnson.
Johnson. Is that it?
Mhm. Hayden
Off the
Johnson
top of
was
my head, that's what I got. And Cannon Reed, if I'm not mistaken, Cannon Reed participated in Slap Fight Circus's influx or whatever it was, where they did a bunch of prospects, where they were having them fight 10 people in a night. I think Cannon
okay.
Reed did that, if I'm not mistaken. Between his camp and this camp, is Cannon Reed a guy that you had your eye on? I know you said Philip Medina, which checks out. Hayden Johnson has always been very dedicated. It seems like he's taking a bit of a break, at least from social. He is a laborer. I know he has a tradesman job, so I'm assuming he's got he still has that hunger and that drive. But I'm curious, was there a sort of a tangible or visible difference for the athletes who were second timers, where you were like, they fucking been here before?
Yeah, so
Because sorry, just to give context to the viewers, like, I don't necessarily understand. I'm not saying I disagree with, but I don't understand the thought process in bringing an athlete back for a second training camp without getting them on a card.
mhm.
So I'm just curious if, from their perspective, you would view that as being successful, being that maybe that athlete who's there for the second time is, extremely more prepared than the average athlete.
Yeah, so I mean, Cannon Reed, as you've spoken about, was a guy that they've seen at the camp before, and I think I think it's actually a positive thing to get a second look at somebody, because you may not know fully whether you want to sign them or not. Obviously, Canada, a guy that could go to SFC, could get some tape on him, take a year to be able to plan, to prep, to train, to come back and be more prepared than he was the first time that he, was there at the training camp. And so I think it's actually a great opportunity. I mean, Hayden Johnson as well, guy that we've seen look visibly different. I'll tell you, just the structure, the makeup of his physique was very different. And so I think just getting a second look, a second opportunity, I think you see somebody in, the first and second camp, that has potential, but you didn't see it translate and you want to know, did they take it serious? Did they put the time in? Did they learn? And I think bringing it back, is one of those things that I think for those athletes who may have never gotten a call back if they don't actually know and could have got skipped over, I think that's incredibly important as well. So to come back and kind of see that. Cannon's from Lafayette, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Beats me. I think
I think
I
so,
believe you. Sounds right.
something like that. Yeah. So, no, I think it's a positive sign. And you know what? I think there was two athletes that had experience in SFC. You had the Cowboy, Jesse Conley, who fought, a fan of our show, Grizzly, in SFC in his first ever fight. Coming to the sport, and so we're seeing them recognize the experience that they've had in the past from other slap fight organizations, and what it is, and valuing that. So it's great to kind of see how the community of slap fighting is evolving, and we're seeing more people, like I said, that are taking this seriously and coming in and wanting this to be a job for themselves. And I know there's been some people in the DMs and stuff and saying, camp one is better than camp two, and our camp has more talent than this camp. And honestly, all that shit doesn't
That's an
fucking
interesting.
matter.
It's an
This
interesting
this
thing to say. It's not.
this
It's not group versus group. It's individual versus
a hundred
individual within the
percent.
camps, across the camps. Like it's a solo man show. It doesn't matter. One, two, three, four combine wrestlers, no
Mhm.
wrestlers, fucking strippers, no strippers. It's all about you as an athlete, and I can tell you that resoundingly. I attended the second camp. Corey attended the third and fourth. So I remember distinctly, and they said this to them. This is the you show. Show me that you care. Show me that you want to be
Mhm.
here, and we'll get you paired up.
100%. I definitely agree with you on that, man. Um, yeah, like I
Yeah, I
said,
mean,
there's 10 to 12 athletes that really stood out above everybody else just from their preparation.
do you want to name drop some of those people, or do you feel like it's not? We'll put them out on
Yeah, no,
social.
100%, man. Just depending what you want to do. I teased it off top of the show. We haven't even got to it. We're over a half hour in, almost 40 minutes now. But Audrey Rose, Audrey Muniz,
Yep.
somebody who is Michael Michelle Brown 2.0, to be completely honest with you. A girl that came in who's got the look to potentially be a star. I think she'll absolutely blow up on social media the second that she gets on that stage. Someone who's unknown, less than 600 followers on Instagram right now, training with a syndicate. We kind of got wind that she was going to the camp in advance from our connections that we have with syndicate. And you could tell that she has put in the time. She had incredible technique, very similar to Michael Michelle Brown, if I'm not, giving away too much. But you can head over to our socials. I know I dropped the story on there if it's still up or not, but we'll have more content coming out of that. But I think she's got star power written all over her. Obviously, we don't know how her chin is. From a training camp, they don't actually get slapped, but we'll see. But overall, from preparation to the
Dude,
look,
that'd
the
be
entire
so
package,
badass. That'd be so
if you could,
badass. Like, yeah, it's just everybody just
well,
like take a slap. Bring like I don't know. Bring fucking who's like a
dude, that's
who's
that's what
who
Road to the
who's
Title kind of was.
yeah, but
The early training camps.
who's not like stupid strong, but has a good whack on them. But they're not known for like knockouts.
Isaiah.
Uh, Nah, Isaiah's got some knockouts. You know what? I'm gonna fuck. I'm so sorry, Zach. You're in here. I'm gonna say Zach Zane. Zach Zane. Let Zach Zane slap everybody. He's on the lower weight classes. Like let Zach Zane get a whack at everybody who comes to the camp. Like like fuck. Who cares, man? Let's do it. Let's see if
That's
you really
funny.
want to be here.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, I think she's got great potential. But they also had Shauna Young, also MMA vet, UFC vet, in at the camp in Las Vegas. I'm not sure if she does Syndicate as well. She might be. But she showed up and showed out, had some.
She is a syndicate.
She is
Yeah.
okay. Someone else, like I said, carbon copy technique. We're seeing the Pono Pal influence. We're seeing or now I guess Brandon Bordeaux, adopting that same lean pre-strike, kind of hip out, everything else. We're starting to see that kind of go into play. Those two women, I think, have an opportunity to come into Power Slap and win some matches and definitely make a name for themselves. My biggest underdog of the entire card is this dude from Texas. This is somebody that you're going to want to watch out for. Phil Medina. The guy is a bricklayer, very unassuming, but this guy had a whip on him. Like every time this guy was hitting the pads, I'd be at the other side of I'd look like, who is that hitting the pads? And this dude, Phil Medina, very quiet, not that outspoken, won't be a big, superstar in terms of his personality. but talent wise, this guy had an incredible slap on him, and is somebody that should definitely be watched out for in the heavyweight division. I had the opportunity to sit down and talk to him as well. We interviewed like 23 or 24 athletes out of the group. Guy, small town roots, doing this to make a difference for himself. I think he's, been forged through it. And like I said, man, being a bricklayer, there's no easy days being a bricklayer. So I think he's forged and got some mitts on the guy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's a foregone. I would be shocked, and I don't know this to be a fact, so forgive me if I end up being wrong. I've been wrong before,
Mhm.
and you guys always let me know, so thank you. But if you go to the camp twice, chances are, unless you really shit the bed the second time, we'll see you up there. So I'd say
Yeah.
Phil Medina's one of those guys. He fits. You are absolutely right. I think watching him as an interview, I've now seen it twice. I saw one that you did yesterday. I saw one that obviously you did remotely after the first camp. He is a very unassuming guy, very soft spoken. Kind of seems like what do they call it, a gentle giant, if you will. He is a heavyweight, if I'm not mistaken, Pono.
Yeah.
Um,
He
and
is.
but again, these guys that come from these trades and laborers, there's some serious, there's something to that, right? That
Mhm.
mindset, that day in and day out grind. And I'm interested. Somebody mentioned, I think Jujar can take Phil Medina. You guys are all being mean to Jujar, man. When he comes back, he's either got to
Dude,
show up or he's got to shut up, and we're gonna see what it is because everybody's calling out Jujar. Everybody wants part of the Tiger Singh, train or whatever you want to
dude.
call it. But if that guy comes, I was about to call him a motherfucker, but that'd be disrespectful. If that guy comes, if he returns, right, and he sleeps somebody, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, nah, yeah, never forget it."
Mhm.
His name's just gonna disappear
Yeah. Yeah.
because everybody's calling him out. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna count the guy out, but I think everybody else is counting him out. So either they're right or he's just not showing us
Yeah.
everything he's got.
For sure. But keeping in the heavyweight division, and you know what? This is another guy. Zeke Taylor really stood out to me. So the guy from, Southern Seattle in Washington, Samoan roots, a guy that's going to get into the heavyweight division. He's walking around right now in super heavyweight weight, but kind of 270. Guy that's been on the wrestling scene, guy that's done rugby. Um, a guy that stood up in front of the entire room and says, I am here to feed my children. And you know what? I like it when you see cats like that are here for a bigger, purpose, bigger than themselves. A guy that I got to make it or else I'm in trouble right now. And I think this is a guy that has that opportunity to do so. And a guy that really stood out to me. We haven't seen too many Samoans in the heavyweight division, so you think about that, my man. I think he's got a good backing and a good story. Guy that's young, and has a great makeup and actual structure for the sport.
I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, and again, if I'm wrong, please somebody just fucking roast me. I don't believe we've seen a heavyweight Samoan. I don't believe we have. We obviously have a Hawaiian. Um,
Hmm.
I don't think we have any Samoans, and we definitely don't have any heavyweight Tongans. The only
Yeah,
Samoan, shut up, Pono. The only Samoan is the Samoans are Uncle Micah and McKinney, um,
yeah,
and I may be missing somebody.
yeah.
Um,
But you were
but
talking
that
about
but that's
Jujar.
interesting.
You were talking Jujar. There was actually another Indian athlete there who was the wrestler. I'm probably going to butcher his name. Mahabali Shira,
Shara, yeah.
an athlete that came in, has the wrestling side behind him, a guy that was all business, very few words, let his skill set and his display. I'm not sure he can make that heavyweight. I think he can. He'll be a massive heavyweight if he does. And, Jujar's got some running with him, I'll tell you, for the
how
Indian crowd,
how
because I
tall
think
is
this
he?
cat,
He looks very tall.
he's a
How tall is he?
big cat. Yeah, probably 6'2", and,
Okay, so
and
he's not
thick
that big. Not as big
and
as I thought.
thick and thick,
Pause.
man. I'll say that big, thick guy. I don't know if he's clean or not, but I guess we'll find out with the drug testing because he's a big, big dude.
Interesting. Talk to me about, so Sin was on the show, I think last week, if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
and he talked about the rodeo guy. Talk to me about the rodeo guy. Who's the rodeo guy? Did he show up? Did he show out?
The
Was
rodeo
he
guy.
okay? So he doesn't sound like he was off to a good start.
No, I have
Nobody
no
with
idea, man.
rodeo experience or PBR or anything like that.
No, not that I'm
Okay,
aware of,
what
man.
about Kevin Crane? What were your thoughts?
Kevin.
Kevin Crane, obviously with the credentialed Brazilian Jiu Jitsu background. recently went viral for surfing on his opponent as he was grappling.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I was curious, and I'm just being honest here. Uh, would Kevin take it seriously given his status? He's not, a fucking superstar, but it sounded like from the small
Hmm.
snippet of interview I saw from him, he kind of felt like, I'm the big dog here. I'm the big name here, etc. And so I'm just
Hmm.
curious, how seriously he took it, given that, and if Kevin wants to fucking jujitsu me to death because I said that, it is what it is.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say this: Kevin Crane, as you said, I mean, a guy's a gold medalist internationally for for USA. A guy like I said the jiu-jitsu side. The guy's one a very high level athlete that we really haven't seen here in Power Slap. Um, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you
Too
know
big for his britches.
yeah, in some ways, and you know what? I don't want to
I mean, it's I don't
get you in
blame him. I'm not.
trouble.
I'm not. I'm not. Listen, I'm
Yeah,
not going to say that I blame the guy. If Gable Stevenson
yeah.
or Kurt Angle or any one of these Olympic gold medalists who have competed at the highest level
Mhm.
and won Olympic gold, and he's done it twice, come to Power Slap. Like I'm not expecting them to be like, oh, I'm here to learn and win,
Yeah.
and get a contract to earn 5-5 or whatever it is. Like I get it.
Mhm.
I was just curious. I would be blown away if he wasn't
Yeah.
that way. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, no, that's exactly how he was. But very nice, very respectful, gave me his time while he was eating lunch and everything else. Like, so, I mean, I got nothing bad to say about him, but you could definitely tell that that aura was sitting there. And we'll see if it translates, to be quite honest, in Power Slam.
Oh, so you think he'll do it in spite of that?
I think so, 100%. Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
division are we talking? Middleweight? He looked like maybe middleweight.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably middleweight. Yeah. Well, what I will say, I was actually surprised. I'll be quite honest with you. Out of, I'd say 17 of the 23 plus interviews, athletes had no idea who the champ was in their current division. To be quite honest with you, so I was actually shocked at the lack of knowledge that these athletes had in regards, and or if they did, I think, who do you want to fight in the division? The only person they did know was the actual champ itself, and calling out the champ for their first debut match. So, if you're gonna get the camp, you should know at
That's
least
how
who's
it
in your
goes.
division.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
how it goes. Listen, I
yeah.
mean, it's I think it's the evolution of the sport, and I think what's interesting to that point is there will
Hmm.
come a day when everybody does know, and that name recognition does exist, and I believe that when that day comes, we'll see that evolution is continuing to proceed, and so I do think it's an interesting tidbit to pay attention to. I am
For
curious
sure.
though about the ladies. Sin talked
Yeah.
about big ladies or larger ladies, with respect to obviously women. Um, he talked about obviously Audrey Munoz, who you just referenced earlier, is a strawweight. We don't have a ton of
Hmm.
strawweights. Were there other strawweights that were in attendance? How big of ladies, if any, did we see? I didn't personally see any massive ones, so I don't know if
Yeah.
that was something that was intended to be part of this one. But
Yeah. I mean, there was only one lady, Izzy, who obviously has been around for a little bit. We've seen her in NOLA. Help me out with her exact name, but Australian girl. Um,
oh, she was
you know,
at the camp.
yeah, she was at the camp, and she actually revealed to me, and it slips my mind the name of the organization, but she just fought in this Cage Wars event where herself and four other ladies fought a male. And this took place in Seattle, Washington. And I was like blown away by this
Unsanctioned for
fact.
sure.
Of course, 100% it was unsanctioned. But five ladies were one man in Seattle in a cage fight was pretty crazy to hear that story. But she's 147 right now. She did a cut for the first time ever, coming down from 160. I'll say for this camp, but just in general to kind of get an idea if she could make that weight. She felt really good making that weight down. She thinks she could even go down to 135. Um, and I think she could be
She's a
someone that,
badass, man.
yeah, absolutely. So
She
I think
is a
she's got an
badass.
opportunity to come in and make some noise.
And she's been
I
trying
think
to do this for a while, I'll say.
100%. I think she could fight someone like a Jackie Cataline. I think it'd be a great match, to be quite honest.
I can't find the triple match thing, but I do believe I know what you're referencing.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the only bigger girl that was there at the camp itself. But I do think we see her. To be quite honest, I think we see her at some point in the future here. So
All right. Any save rounds on the camp? The last thoughts?
any what? Sorry.
Any like final thoughts, I guess, on the camp before we move into the question portion
Oh,
quickly.
dude, I'm just getting started, man. But yeah, I mean, like I
Any
said, a
light
couple
heavyweights? Somebody said.
light heavyweights. There was only one light heavy.
Really?
Uh
Like legit only one?
yeah, there was only one light heavyweight in the camp, and it's slipping my mind who it was. Sorry, like I
Oh
interviewed
shit.
20
No, no, it's
twenty
all good.
three
It's all good.
people yesterday.
Yeah.
Who was it now? Um, but what I will say is that a lot of these athletes actually came in, the ones that practiced and prepared, to strike with both hands. I've seen a lot of ambidextrous slappers that had phenomenal strikes from both sides. We had a wrestler come in, Buku Dao, looks Asian, Filipino, possibly. Guy that came in with a cast on his arm, and he exclusively slapped with his left hand. Had a great whip on him. I think he's a guy that'll compete at 155. There was 5 or 6 155ers in there that I thought
Oh
was
wow, that's
great
good.
to see.
That's big news.
100%.
So Robert
Absolutely.
Trujillo was training his competition. Isn't that fucking crazy?
You know what? And these kids didn't give a fuck. Robert Trujillo was there. They're doing interviews and like, hey, Rob, I'm coming for you, man, to be
Oh
quite
wow!
honest.
I
So
can't
I will
wait. I
say
can't wait
that, dude.
to surface all that.
Yeah, man. But
I
actually, before
go
I
ahead.
get
Go
too
ahead.
far, there is this cat named JD who's got a crazy story. I don't know if he'll be good in power slap or not, but the dude has a titanium jaw. Probably
Like
be a
actually,
150.
or you're messing around?
Actually, no, I'm being dead serious. So this is a cat.
Wait. Be as perfect as you can, because this is getting clipped just as it
I
is. So tell your
A hundred
story, bro.
percent. So JD from Washington State has a titanium jaw. He works as a commercial fisher up in Alaska, and his passion is being a professional skier. He broke his jaw in a skiing incident. And so he has a titanium rod that goes from the joint down to the center of his chin. The doctors claim that his chin is stronger now than it was before he broke it. He got up in front of the room and he stated it. And a guy who's a professional skier and works on a commercial fishing boat, lives life on the edge, and came to Power Slap. And I'll be honest, he actually impressed me.
There you go. I love it. I don't know what Pono's talking about, but he's asking about a new stepping rule. Do you know anything about this?
Not particularly, no. No,
Mentioned the
it
new stepping rule. Was there any emphasis of any stepping mentioned?
not particularly. Just we'll kind of the same feet linear. Have to be planted until you make contact. If you're gonna go bare feet, let us know before you get up there. Um, One of the actually interesting things that they talked about is that if you want to use any external taping, so you can tape your ankles, you can't tape your feet. If you have any, if you have any bands on, like any, the tension kind of like chiropractic bands, you can have it on your off hand. You can't have it on your slapping hand. So if you need to switch hands during mid fight, you'd have to rip it off up there on stage. You're not allowed any sleeves. But otherwise, in stepping, there wasn't anything specific that was brought up, out of the ordinary. But before I go on from that, JD also had his roommates in college join him, a guy by the name of Shane Lightbody. Really tall kid, lanky kid. Um,
What? That's his real last name, or is that a work?
no, it's 100%. I'm checking, verify it.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. I'm pretty
it
sure it
is,
is,
dude.
but that's fine. And he's how much does he weigh? Is he
I
a
think he'll
light
be
body?
once. I think he'll be 170, to be
So
honest
he's a
with you.
light body. That's fucking
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah. But great strike on him. Very tall kid. The kid actually came in, dude. I'll be honest, had no prep, no understanding, didn't know what he was doing. Came in and just fucking was knocking the pad around. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll say I'll speak for all the athletes in the chat here who have competed, and I'll say the pad doesn't hit back before everybody starts blowing it up in the
Yeah.
comments and acting like we're fucking sucking off the camp athletes. We're not. We're just trying to tell you who they are.
Yeah.
But
But
let's get to a couple. Go ahead.
I was gonna say one last guy, Robert Ketchum, goes by Bunkhouse Brawler, wrestler from, I'll say, the sticks. Guy that competes in death matches, got a 14-inch scar from a death match where he got cut from glass from pretty much here all the way down. A dude that really impressed, I'll tell you that. Super heavyweight. Kind of has, I mean, he's not Samoan, so I guess he's gonna suck, but um but a guy guy kind of that new athlete. To be quite honest with you, a guy that has a little bit of that's Cedric, Cedric's kind of athleticism, but kind of has more of that gnarly girth of a McKinney Manu will probably come in, around that 300 pound, 320 maybe. Um, guy with a small following, but I think could do some damage, in that 5 through 10 of the division. And a guy that was realistic when we interviewed him said that he wants Donnie Von Heerden for his first match, which I think, given what Donnie has done and just how things kind of lie in the with the brass of power slap, I think Donnie could very well get a newcomer in his next match.
I love it. All right, I'm gonna omit the names here because I don't know who. I don't know if people can see who asked these questions, and I don't know if the people want to be named. But I will just say, first question is: will the power slap last?
What does that even mean?
Like, is it gonna last? Is power slap gonna, is it gonna withstand the test of time?
I believe it will. I think, you know what, this is personal for Dana White. I think this is an ego thing for him that is going to stand the test of time. I think they've got the money, they've got the backing, they have the opportunity to feed this into a bigger network to attract sponsors. Whether, you know, whether the fights are great or not. Whoever's on the card practically doesn't matter. By the time that they put on that card, they're making their money. They just got to put the card on, and they're making bank. And I think for as long as they're under the same ownership group and Dana White's involved, I don't think acquiring sponsors and getting rights deals, whether it be through broadcast and or venue deals, I think this thing is, from a financial standpoint, in a great place. And I just think the quality of the products can continue to go over time. And I think this is, 10 years out. I don't know if it's going to be as big or bigger than the UFC, the way Dana is speaking about. But what we are seeing in the glimpses of the stuff they're doing overseas, and obviously in Riyadh with having 17 different countries represented on the card itself, the sports in a better place now than it's ever been. Even with Zhao losing in China, that's that came out of Frank Lamasello's mouth. 4 billion views in China for that particular fight itself. So we see, that market opening up. We are seeing with Jujar Singh. Who knows how many views were there. Antipov as well is turned into a star back in Kazakhstan, I think. And so, we're seeing internationally all these guys come in and drive bigger numbers than I think Power Slap has done in the United States. So I think this thing definitely has staying power.
All right, and I'm gonna say ditto. The best. What is the best training for power slap fighters?
Do you want to go first on this one? Or you want me to take it?
Nope. Go ahead.
Honestly, I think slap fighting is a full body sport. I think you need to be trained in full body, compound movements. You need to be able to have, power and explosiveness through your hips, through your core, through your shoulders. So I think, however that plays into, the mold, I think that's kind of the foundation. So whether you're looking at, the big squat, dead, bench press, or you're looking at more Olympic lifting, where you're getting those compound movements. I think that's kind of the core of it. After that, to be honest, I think secondary, and I'm saying this after the fact, if you can get into some sort of racket sport, arm wrestling, baseball pitching, tennis, I mean, anything that has that whipping motion to develop
How
the
about
shoulder
golf?
griddle. I don't I mean, possibly, but I don't see the same resistance. Maybe if you can put a 10-pound weight on the end of the golf club or something, possibly. But anything that builds, your lats, your shoulder, your chest, builds all the secondary muscles through your arms, all of that I think is incredibly important, especially on the offensive side. The defensive side, I mean, besides learning the craft,
Jaws or size?
jaws size is I guess one option, but I think you either have a chin or you don't, to be quite honest with you. I don't think it's something you could train.
Yeah, ditto. The state of the lightweight division or lack thereof. Well, it sounds like that'll get fixed here with these training camps,
Well,
huh?
I think it's changing. I think there's definitely a lot of new talent coming into the 155 category. It's still going to take time. I don't think you're getting the cream of the crop at 155 in the division yet. I'm not sure why they're having such a hard time recruiting for that, specific class. I think Robert Trujillo is going to be at the top there for the foreseeable future. Um, I think it's going to take a bit of time. I still think we're 12 to 24 months out before things start getting juicy in that. And things could change. I think obviously they're trying to bring in more talent. And if we get more talent, that can really, kind of make things happen. Obviously, Antipov, as we spoke about, a guy at 155 that looks interesting as a prospect, but it's going to take a little while for these guys to kind of mold in. And last thing you want to do is, throw them the Robert Trujillo 2 or 3 matches in. So I think it's going to take a bit of time to kind of unfold. I haven't seen that kind of next coming of the 155 division as of yet. But like I said, I still think we're 12, 24 weeks out, months out, sorry.
All right, KO Chris at 185. Who would be a great opponent to
Well,
introduce into that division? I will
but
just say quickly, Trenton Bordeaux.
you think Trenton Bordeaux?
Yeah, I like it. KO Chris.
155.
No, 85, 85. 185, Trenton Bordeaux versus KO Chris. That's my vote.
Um, who would I say in the 185? I would go with, John Davis.
Okay, do you care to
I,
explain?
just two OG guys.
History.
I think history. I think loser loses their contract. I
Oh,
think
God. You think John
100%, man.
Davis. Wait. So you put John Davis
Dude,
and KO Chris in the same category, even though John only
100%.
lost to the current champion?
100%.
Okay.
I think the best days of John Davis are behind us. I don't
Did
think,
Did you go to
and I don't,
Planet 13 on this trip?
I have not.
You
But
didn't go to Planet. Okay.
dude, when's the last time we seen John Davis? Where do you think he
Yeah,
is
but
with the
there's
brass?
no, there's no chat. Somebody check me, please. There's no world where John Davis and KO Chris are equal. There's none.
No, but I think actually in career trajectory, I think they are. I think if they both fought each other and whoever lost, I could see them being cut or just being pushed to the side. We haven't seen John Davis. Dude, John
Chat,
Davis hasn't
chat,
competed in 2 years.
chat. You gotta
So
help me. Chat, you gotta help me. It's been a year and 2 months, and I need a little assistance here because I'm completely on the other side of this. So let's see what
yeah,
they say. I don't know what
yeah,
this. I don't really know what this is a question or not, but coaching opportunities for strikers on upcoming events and combines.
yeah. I
I'm
mean,
gonna I'm gonna guess that that's just a subject to talk about.
yeah, I mean, I think coaches are pretty well cemented. They have the guys that they like as coaches. I think it's pretty easy to see, between Brandon Bordeaux, Robert Trujillo, Ryan Phillips was back obviously recently, Emmanuel Muniz. I think those are kind of the cats that you're going to see. There's only ever been one, surprise or guest coach, and that was Volk with Dumpling in his first match, I believe. But that was kind of a
Yeah,
special
that was
case.
Alexander Volkov. Yep.
Yeah. So, other than that, I think they kind of have their coaches cemented. I think they're trying to work with guys that,
Thank
um,
you, Rod.
know their thing. So, what's this, Radalave?
Yeah, he said John Davis loses one match and gets almost cut is crazy. I agree. I think Corey's on glue, but
No,
that's all right. He's in Vegas, so what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I don't know, man.
I'd
Maybe
love
I'm
to
wrong,
know.
but I
I'd
don't
love
think
to
he's in
know
high
what John
regard.
Davis and KO Chris think of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
What's Radalave's weight? 185?
55.
Oh,
Well,
55? Okay, I'm way off.
70,
Okay.
70 really, 70 really,
Okay,
but
okay.
um,
Fuck, that'd be a great match, man. Get Kilo Chris back to 170, Chris and Radalave?
oh Lord.
No?
Um, People should stop complaining about clubs on Instagram. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. Again, you can say whatever you want on your social media pages,
Mhm.
but just be advised and be mindful as humans. Frank, Sin, Justin, Erica, Dana, fucking name a person, whatever name you want, Gary, whatever. They can all feel whatever way they want to feel about it and do what they want as a result of it. So just be mindful. Just post at your own risk. And I will tell you, if you ask guys who have done it, I won't call them out, but guys who have gone on these social media fuck you campaigns, 95% of them at this point in time will tell you it's not a good idea. You shouldn't do it. Um, Promotions using real athletic commissions and not fairy tale made up ones. I don't exactly know what this is in reference to promotions using real athletic commissions and not fairy tale made up ones. I don't know if that's a because it says promotions, so I don't know if that is a reference to the the sort of confusion or the lack of transparency regarding commissions overseas
Hmm.
for power slap events, or if that's a reference to Slap Fight Circus being Slap Fight Circus. I can't really tell.
Hmm.
Um, any comment on that? I don't really know. I don't know exactly what to say outside of the fact that Slap Fight Circus is Slap
Yeah.
Fight Circus and it is a
I
circus.
mean,
So
as far as I know, within the United States, there hasn't been any other, statewide athletic commission that has sanctioned any other events other than Power Slap. That's all I'm going to say. Overseas, I can't speak knowledgeably on it. Whether or not, Brit Slap Fighting Championship out in Dubai, whether that's sanctioned or not, just from my, lack of knowledge, I believe it is. But I really can't speak on it, other than that. So from what I know in the United States, there's been no other sanctioned slap fighting league.
yeah, I would second that. Zach Zane versus KO Chris would be sick. You know what, Zach? I don't disagree with you. The problem is that I don't think KO Chris has any intention of making 170 at any point in the future. So either we see him at 85 or we don't see him at all. It would be my prediction. But I do like that matchup. I just don't think it ever happens unless you, my friend, find a buffet or an ice cream joint by you. Uh, last but certainly
Yeah.
not least, the buzzword flinching.
In regards to what?
That's all it says, flinching.
That's all it says.
Yep.
I mean, let's be real. You come into power slap and you've never taken a slap before. You haven't trained being hit. And no matter what you do, boxing, MMA, you're taught to move out of the way of contact. And you're bringing new athletes in who don't have experience. You're putting them up on stage. I mean, flinching is something that's going to happen until they find another way to work these athletes in to the biggest stage of them all. Um, are they going to be able to clean it up? I think the rule set will continue to do that. And actually, now that you talk about it, there was one thing that Mark Smith actually spoke about. Um, and that is that you can have movement pre-strike as long as it doesn't interfere with the ability to land a clean strike. So if you move, whether it be the clinch downwards, etc., as long as you still give a clean target and the contact point is made, then what my interpretation of what Mark Smith said, and maybe we should fact check this with Mark Smith, but if they still land a strike and there is that movement, and I mean I'm sure Bordeaux is probably in the comments and can second me, that they will not call that a flinch because you have to give the target, and if there's still the contact is made, even with that slight movement.
Yeah, see, that's that gray area that is subject to interpretation.
Hmm.
How do you justify Klingbeil and Quinones flinching in the title match, getting away with it, and almost both getting away with the belt? I don't know that they. How do you justify Klingbeil and
Yep.
Quinones flinching? Well, so Quinones won, so and it says almost getting away with the belt. So I don't exactly know how those two ended up in a sentence together. How do you justify Klingbeil?
But I think it goes back to what I just
Klingbeil was
said.
playing a game. Did Mark Smith talk about that match at all? I'm actually interested to know. He
No, he did
didn't.
not. No,
So
no.
Klingbeil Wolverine didn't make the highlight reel. Um, I think Klingbeil was playing a dangerous game. And he I don't want to say he got lucky, but he wasn't called on the flinches. And listen, at the end of the day,
Dude.
somebody said it earlier. I think Rod mentioned the baseball referendum that Corey made was spot on about the way that the mechanics of the strike. It's the same thing I've said. If you if you are asking a pitcher to pitch a strike every time, it just doesn't happen. Yeah, I mean, you're telling somebody to
Mhm.
throw. So I just think that there's so much on both sides of it, that are subject to interpretation. And again, if somebody would do this, then I'll get off the soapbox. But I want somebody to please take a strike and be like, "Hey, Mark, actually, I flinched a little bit. Can you just let them restrike?" Like when you are the person that does something wrong, I want somebody to go up there and be honest about it and be
Mhm.
transparent. And then and only then will I say, "Okay, you know what? That motherfucker's serious." and we should be
Yeah.
following these rules to a T, to the
Yeah.
millimeter, to the centimeter, to the whatever, because it's just there's just so much going on, and there's way too small of a margin of error. You
Hmm.
can't have 12 matches a night and fucking 8 of them end in DQ or something like
Yeah.
that. It just can't. It's just not. It just doesn't propel the sport forward in the right way. And I think if you're on the wrong side of it, you're gonna be pissed off about it. And I get it. But
Yeah.
if it's you that's doing it, I want you to come out and say, "Hey, Mark, actually, I flinched. You know, you should give my opponent a second strike." Nobody's gonna do it, and so
No.
that's why I say it's a very, oh, it's, oh, look what he did, look what he didn't do thing, and you just kind of got to live with it. At the end of the day, what Frank Lemisella says about this is exactly correct. At the end of the day, you got to be able to give a shot and take a shot. There's nothing more to it than that. You are allotted. Allotted is the wrong word, but technically you are allotted. But you are given two fouls in offensive fouls in a 3 round fight, three in a 5 round fight. If you club somebody, you get a call for that club. You got another
Hmm.
club to go. So whether it gets called, whether it doesn't get called, whatever it is, you still would endure that club, no matter who you are, unless you were rendered unable to continue. So
Yeah.
it's a very tough, and a lot of athletes clinch, and they do a lot of different maneuvers and things that could be. And again, it's all subject to interpretation. And I think that's the problem.
Hmm.
Where we sit, we prefer to take the sport as it is, not necessarily how we want it to be in this mythical perfect world that we don't live
Hmm.
in. It
Yeah.
just kind of is what it is.
Yeah. So there's two parts to it. I'm gonna get to an unpopular take second. I don't want to just belittle too much, but one this was something that came up during as well. And so Mark Smith was saying is that if you have two offensive fouls in a 3 round match, you you're gonna lose. And so if you have one offensive foul and your opponent flinches, he's going to put his hand on your shoulder and say, "Are you sure you want to take another strike?" And so he used that as an opportunity where possibly taking those points and not striking set and not striking again could lead in your favor, and making sure that you are aware that you're understanding of what it means. Because if you were to go ahead and commit a second offensive foul, you lose the match automatically. So I thought that was kind of interesting. If you want to table up this discussion for a later time or another day, we can. But really, what I want to get to, and you talked about it, there's white and there's black and there's a gray line. And the best in the world, the top, as we talked about these title divisions, Isaiah Quiones, Brandon Bordeaux, Wolverine, Alan Klingbeil, if you're not skirting that line, if you're not living in the gray, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. If you're not pushing as far as you can go, I'm not saying go to black, but if you're not skirting that gray line as far as it goes to the right, you are never going to be a world champion. And that's that. And so, a guy like Allen, you know, flinch, not flinch. He got away with it for whatever it is, but he's pushing that line as far as he can in regards to that technique. And they actually did bring up one thing specifically, and they talked about the windup and Allen's windup, more so
This where you
specifically.
gonna want to send all the hate, not the slap news. Can you see that? That's
It's
that's
a
where that's where you're gonna want to send all the messages. Do not message slap news. Send them to that Instagram right there.
you can, man, but Allen's got a different, strike technique. Um, and he skirts that same line as it relates to whether it being legal or not. And so Alan's probably going to hit me up. He's going to send me a DM. He's going to tell me it. And it's not what I'm telling you. It's actually a good thing because if you're not, you're not going to be world champion. Look, dude, look at every champ. Every champ pushes, maybe besides Damien DeBell because he's God gifted, but every single one of these champs push that line as far as they can go. Is it a mic drop? Is the show over now?
Oh fuck!
Nobody
Wait, one more
watches.
time.
Nobody watches 75 minutes
Hold
of
on,
the show,
one,
anyways, dude. So
one
I can
more
say
time.
whatever I want.
That's the Instagram you want right there.
Yeah,
If you don't cheat, you will never be a world champion. I love it. Man, do we think we see another camp before another event?
that's very well possible, man. I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't rule anything out. We'll probably get another event. I think, another event. I think will come first. I think typically from the two, camps that they've had, I think they're going to want to see some more, athletes on stage before they bring more people in. So I think we get the event first, but it's possible.
Nah, Corey is absolutely right. Bell also borderline clubs. Every champ is pushing the boundary. Okay, you got yourself a you got yourself a second here,
Who is it? Is it
and all of
Fap or
us.
what? Is it
No,
Fap or what?
I don't
No,
know who
it's
this
not.
person is actually. C
Okay.
Hot 5162, but they know your name, so they are obviously. Thank you for that comment. I try to create one arm's distance so that if you hate him, you don't hate me, and vice versa. If you hate me, you don't hate him. So it's all part of the stick here. Good cop, bad cop. You know what I mean? My club was on the second strike after a flinch. Cole Smith. What is it? You took some like truth telling serum or something? Uh, Cody. I've personally
Mhm.
never flinched, but I wonder if they can even tell they're flinching because it's such an automatic reaction for some people. It's a great point.
Mhm.
Turning the head is flinching like Kling and Rusted. Clenching like Dorian can be called clean. Tilting into hits and rolling away from the hit is flinching. I agree with that, and I think a
Dude,
lot of times athletes mistime their roll, and I think that you know. But again,
all
it
I'm gonna,
also comes into you don't. It, it's so
dude,
tough, man. You don't
leading,
want guys taking fucking five strike like what happened to Luke Simons where he took
dude.
three strikes in a round. Like you don't want that stuff.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say, ask Vern Cathy what happens when you dip your head into a strike versus Austin Turpin. It's not gonna end well for you. It's probably the worst thing you could do. Like you're doing so much more damage to yourself. Very ill advised. Don't take that
It's like a car
technique.
crash. You're meeting the damage
Yeah.
to stop it. That's exactly why car crashes are what they are because
Yeah.
the speed stops abruptly and there's the shock of both the movement from both sides.
Hmm.
Like it's like run it. Tell me before we go. Tell me about this run it guy. Was he all he was cracked up to be? I believe his name is Jason.
Jason Jackson.
Yeah, from
Um,
Costa Rica.
so actually interesting you say that. So American born, but his family was from Costa Rica originally. I forget now if it was his mother or his father. So he's actually competed in rugby for the national team in Costa Rica. Um, I want to see more. I'll say that. I don't think he came in with the right killer be killed mindset. A guy that I think has got to find that extra gear and really kind of dig deep if he wants to be able to get there. He's a bit of a letdown for me, but guy that I still want to see do a bit more and take this a little bit more seriously, to be honest.
All right, I really want to see Jacob Fatu, man. But he's a running guy that I'm
Hmm.
interested in. I don't know if they'll ever get him, but if I know Sin,
Yeah,
I know he'll be trying.
absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Vern was just unlucky. He took the first hit flush, still got caught flinching. That second strike for Vern would have ended the match. That is an interesting take. I don't know. I don't know that I saw anything from Austin Turpin that night that would tell me that I would agree with that. I got it. I got it.
Hmm.
Me versus Kalani, that was a war, but we had fouls. Indeed, you did. You both dropped each other. It was a war. The run this show live is absolutely amazing, but the art of striking is completely different. You know what I will say is, and here's what I'll say, and if you guys do this, I'd love it. But I would be if I was a power step athlete that was facing resistance from the general public, I would be I would be attaching myself like a element on the periodic table to run it, and I'd be saying if you fuck with this, you cannot not fuck with this.
Hmm.
That's what I'd be doing because it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So before we let the show go, I'm gonna give an honorable mention to a couple people, that were at the camp itself because I think it's incredibly important. Brian Scambler, coach of one Austin Turpin and NOLA, as well as Big Bird, who's probably in the chat here. Great to see him at the camp. It'd be great to see him get an opportunity to put forth a guy that's kind of been, a wrestler his entire career. I think a guy that can come in and make some noise. Um, I don't know what he goes by. I should call him Just the Epic. If I call him Doug Mallow, you guys may not know who he is, but a wrestler who's been on the indie scene, here on the West Coast. I think is a big cat that's could have some potential to kind of come in and bring that full package. Think stunt marshal. Fuck, I shouldn't even say this, but stunt marshal times more, if that makes sense. I won't use the S word, but I think he's got an opportunity there. Jaden Schultz, another guy, a rugby guy from New Zealand, though I think also has potential. Guys should watch. And then Lance. I know we put up on our page today. Obviously, the royalty of wrestling, a guy that we're gonna find out, I think, real fast how much he wants this. A guy that I want to see more of as well. Very, very soft spoken guy, but a guy I think that could have some potential should he take this serious, get his head right, and really focus and hone in on his craft.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, wrestling royalty coming from the Anoa'i family.
Mhm.
He just got released from the WWE a couple of months ago, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, in October.
Correct.
And I think the last guy that we saw that had that experience was Jordan Oasis. I think
Who was at the camp?
slightly differently, Jordan Oasis was let go from a developmental contract, whereas Lance was actually in the WWE pipeline. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong on that, I
Mhm.
apologize. But I do think if we can take anything from what Jordan Oasis was able to do in his debut, uh, a release from WWE is probably a good motivator to get some of these guys who are being forced to return to the indie market after being on the big stage. When they get to a new big stage, they they wake up. So it'll be very very interesting. Um, let's see. You guys are having a good convo in the chat here. Turpin first shot missed. We know Turpin stronger than Wolverine, and Wolverine one shot Vern. Then Turpin faced him, and I just lost it. Then Turpin faced him with an even more deteriorated chin. It's a fair take, and I can't say I disagree. Yes, sir. Scamby bringing the heat. Yeah. Vern had a 0% chance to eat that shot. It was my largest bet that event. He doesn't know that technique yet. I don't know who Pono's talking about. Turpin stronger than Wolverine. What do you see Turp KOing Darius in one shot? Oh, okay. I guess he's disagreeing that Turpin is stronger than Wolverine. I will say on that front though, since you put Turpin and Darius in the same sentence, Turpin did post on Instagram in his story something saying Darius, you're a fucking bitch or something like that today. So I don't know if he's posturing or if there's actually a problem there.
Do
Well, he
that.
didn't face Darius, but he would one shot him in my opinion. Oh, that's an interesting take. Turpin one shotting Darius. That's an interesting take, Henry. I don't know if I can agree with that.
That'd be a great match, man. I haven't
I
thought
don't know
about.
if I can agree that he'll one shot him though. You're also
That'd be a
looking
great
at a
match. Yeah.
heavyweight Turb versus Vern, not where he normally is. He was 238. Darius Chin is better, though. You think Turp doesn't stand a chance? Oh no, Darius's chin is better than you think. Turpin doesn't stand a chance. That's from Big Bird, who faced Darius. You said Turpin stronger than Wolverine. No mention of heavyweight or light heavyweight. That's fair. That's a fair point. Need new light heavyweights to challenge Wolverine. Is that facts, Corey? Do we need new light heavyweights, or does the light heavyweight division look good? I think we could use a couple. I think heavyweight's the one that's getting all the love here. I think we need to pause the
Yeah.
faucet on the heavyweights. Turn the faucet
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Sin, if you're
Yeah.
listening, shut the faucet off on the heavyweights, brother.
Yeah, no, I think light heavy can definitely use some fresh talent. I think that Peter Trulich. I mean, I don't want to put him in the top yet, but I think he's got some potential and some talent there. But yeah, we could definitely use some more talent there. Who do we have from heavy that's coming down? There was somebody who's going to stir things up. Uh, it's slipping my mind now. There
Wait,
was
before I forget, if Corey was a Pokemon, he'd be Umbreon. That's what Rado
Umbreon.
Lavi said.
All right, awesome. I've never been told that before,
And
but
then he said hashtag
it's
hot
not
take.
bad. There we
If
go,
Turp faced Darius, I'd bet my house on Turpin. Wow,
dude.
you guys are really
Who is
split on this thing. Some of you think, but you
dude?
guys all agree that it's domination. You just disagree on which side.
Dude, who's the heavy that's going down? That's going down to light heavy right now. That I think has a legit shot. I can't think of why I
Ranked?
can't.
Or you don't know?
I can't. Well, they're not in the
The
heavy right
crazy
now.
Hawaiian?
I mean, they're crazy, I guess. Yeah, but there's somebody
He's
else.
technically going.
James
Uh,
Seekman.
no,
No,
definitely not James Seekman.
there was somebody else. There was somebody who just fought.
I mean, I always thought Johnny
And
Magno was gonna fight at
they
light
were on
heavy.
220. They fought around 220, and they're intending to go down. And they had a great debut.
All right, hold on, let's look. That's why
Oh,
we
I
got.
can't
That's
think
why
of
we
who it
got
is
our
now.
good old friends at the site that we shall not name.
I can't think of who it is right now off the top of my head, but
Pornhub.com. Hold on, I'll
dot
get it
com.
for you. Just give me a second.
Too funny. But like I said, Jordan Oasis was at the camp as well. Great to see him there, helping coach a bit. It's actually interesting. I kind of got a bit of an insight from some of the other wrestlers about Jordan
Bryce
Oasis.
Jones, Ryan Kenny, Rowe, Brian
Mm,
Ellis, Razor.
I, I'm not
I
sure,
mean,
man.
Razor
I'm
said
not
he
sure.
would go to light heavy if his brother came in.
Yeah, I'm not sure, man, at
Um,
this point. But anyways, I want to finish the Jordan Oasis thing right before it kind of
yeah, go
slips
ahead,
my
please.
mind here. But they talked about kind of Jordan Oasis, and I won't say who said this to me, but it was kind of echo the sentiment that Jordan's been a guy that's been around the scene, who's been very athletically gifted, a guy that has a big heart, very kind heart, which I'm sure you see, guy that fights with emotion, even when he's on the mic after his fight, was incredibly emotional with some of the hardships that he's gone through. In a lot of ways, and I can't validate this, but I've heard this from multiple people now on the indie wrestling scene that he's kind of seen as, a try hard, a guy that goes out of his way to try to go above and beyond, that puts in the time, that's always pushing the envelope, and a guy that, in the development program that it may have actually worked counterproductive for him. Being too much of that softy guy that wants to do everything, almost too much of a company guy. And so we're going to see kind of how that unfolds for Jordan here in Power Slap, because I do think, it is something to definitely take note. I think obviously that intention and the attention to detail that he's putting in, the training, everything else is going to help him propel himself up that rank. But we're really going to see is he going to be able to find that other gear and stop being a nice guy and really get down and own and hone in on his craft. I mean, if that's what others are talking about him, I think it's probably true.
Yeah, I think the impression of Jordan Oasis so far has been great. To be honest with you,
Mhm.
I think that exact profile that you just mentioned is perfect here. Damn, you guys are like really going fucking bananas. I hate Turpin. I just acknowledge he's good. All right, that's fair, Henry. My boy Logan gonna win that belt. Zach Zane, he's right there. We need clean. We need clean light heavyweights. Uh, who respect the rules to challenge Wolverine. I mean, come on, Turbo's a great opponent. Russell, if he was clean, would have been a good opponent. Okay, I don't I don't disagree that you need clean light heavyweights for sure, but I'm also not saying that there aren't clean light heavyweights currently. I have $15,000 in power set betting profits. I know my shit. I don't disagree with you, Henry. I was talking about the run it competitor. Pono said yes, you saw him live, so you are qualified to speak on that. Only one light heavyweight got invited to the camp. Need five of them. Yeah, I mean, there's some athletes I think you'll see that'll bypass the camps and show up anyway. I agree. He's got to be more professional. I prefer my heavyweight. I'm assuming that's referring to Turpin. Darius is so going to KO Turp. Easiest bet ever. Turp is as heavy as going to be around 240. Darius is 260 all the time and hits accurately. I bet he is KOing Turp. That is a hot take. Zach Zane is saying
Oh,
Johnny Magna's going down to light heavyweight. I don't know if that's true, but Johnny Magna at any weight is a real problem for anybody who's got
mhm.
warm blood rolling through their body. Can we get Pono versus DeBell already? It's long overdue. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I think Pono probably needs one more, but I don't hate it. Um,
Mhm.
Zach is saying it's Johnny Corey that's going on light
Okay.
heavyweight.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And last but not least, I just want to give a shout out to Jose Perez, the younger brother of DTP, was also at the camp. Great to be able to talk to him. Definitely a guy that's still in a shell a little bit more than his brother. Wanted to do street beefs, but his brother convinced him to come to Power Slap instead. So we'll see if he can follow in his brother's footsteps, and he's got big footsteps to follow in his brother at heavy. So
Yeah, he's got big ass boots with butter on napkins.
mhm.
Dorian
Yeah.
versus DeBell is next. You know what? If you look on our Instagram, unfortunately, Damien DeBell shared that he had a conversation with Frank and was told that it doesn't make sense. The rematch does not make sense, so it does not appear, uh, at least in the short term. I'd say probably by the middle of next year, we will see Dorian Perez versus Damien DeBell too. I think you'll see
Then who do you give
Damien
him?
take on. I think Darius is who they're headed towards. I think history's trumping everything here. The
Okay.
history between them. Um,
All right, man. Let's wrap it up though, Ding. It's been a while. No one's listened to us anymore. Of course they are.
Pono
But
future champ for
we
real. Abe
appreciate
was awesome
everybody.
meeting you this week. Awesome. Thanks, bro. We
Awesome,
appreciate it,
buddy.
man. Thanks for the update. It was good to to understand better kind of what the next crop of talent looks like, and I look forward to it. We'll have
Awesome.
tons of footage coming out from them guys. We're just trying to get in the swing of things. Corey's traveling a little bit, but we'll get you guys some stuff out, some sound bites, some footage of what they look like and all that. I know it's just slapping a pad. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it gives you some sense of power slash technique and all that good stuff. So look out for that for the athlete, the majority I'd say of the athletes that were at the camp.